I'm Steve Lockwood. I'm the president of the Historical Society of Lake Worth, which has helped bring this monument, this celebration, this dedication to life this afternoon. And I want to welcome you all here on behalf of the Society and my fellow board members who are here today. Marion Cohn, Judy Reed, Ted Brownstein, Patty Sheldon, Susan Guyot, Herman Robinson, and Benjamin Burrell, all of our members. And I want to remind you that this dedication, this mural, this ceremony has been a long time in coming. First, in the short run, as several of you mentioned to me today, well, gee, the mural was up, wasn't it, last spring, which is true, but we couldn't hold the dedication ceremony for obvious COVID reasons. But the second time frame that's interesting to think about with regard to the mural is it's really been 118 years in coming since the establishment of the original post office for Jewell, which was the multiracial, multi-ethnic predecessor community to Lake Worth Beach. It was an unincorporated cluster of homesteaders who lived along the western shore here of Lake Worth, and it lasted from 1889 to 1903. And the mural itself, as most of you know, focuses on Fanny James, Jewell's first and only postmaster, shown receiving mail from the famous barefoot mailman, surrounded by her husband Samuel and her farmer neighbors, and standing in front of the 1889 post office, which is marked in the yellow tape. Location is marked in the yellow tape behind you. You can take a look later on. Fanny herself was of mixed race, Native American, white, black, as were her neighbors, which we think of as an important tribute to the diverse population of Lake Worth Beach today. The third time frame has to do with the development of the mural itself. The research that started us on this path was substantially started and pushed by Scott McCabe, then at the Post, and then fully realized in the research that Ted Brownstein did in his book Pioneers of Jewell that was published in 2013. So it's been almost a decade since the concept of some kind of memorial for Jewell has been discussed. And we at the Historical Society picked up on this concept in 2016 and turned it into a reality with the help and support and initiative and cooperation from a large number of organizations and people, many of whom that you will hear from today as we go on this afternoon. I want to also acknowledge a couple of other people who are important to historical research orientation background. Susan Oyer, I think I saw her here from the Pioneers of Lake Worth. There she is, hand up. Charlene Farrington from the State Museum. Charlene? I don't see her, but she's here somewhere. And Brett Brown from the Green Acres Historical Society as well is here. So thank you very much. It's my pleasure to introduce Ted Brownstein, whose research serves as the inspiration for the Jewell mural. Ted's been a resident of Lake Worth since 1987. He's active in a wide range of community organizations. He's an expert on a range of religions and an author of several books on a complete range of faiths. But most importantly, for today, as most of you know, he's the author of articles and books on the history of Lake Worth Beach, including the groundbreaking research focusing on Jewell Pioneers of Jewell that provided the context for the mural. So Ted's going to provide you with background on the mural, on the development, on the support that received, and he's going to introduce, in turn, key players who have played an important part in making this day a reality, and incidentally some musical entertainment as well. And I just want to add that at the end of the program, we hope you will join us with some authentic period refreshments that await after our program today. So, Ted?
Thank you, Steve, for all your work and your introduction. When I look out at the faces here, about half the people in the crowd have had something to do with the creation of this mural. Even if it was just like support or enthusiasm for the project, but many had other roles to play as well. But I'd like to start today with a practice that I think is really important for us, and as we recognize the diversity of our modern community, that is a population that's missing. And that if we go back to who was originally on this land for thousands of years, the Jaga Indians were here on this land as part of the western shore of Lake Worth and out on the island, what became Lake Worth later, and also the Iam and Tequesta. And then, of course, they disappeared by the 1700s, and the Seminoles came in, and then they were driven off the land. So it's become a practice in Canada and New Zealand and other places to open ceremonies such as this with our indebtedness and our gratitude to the people that preceded us on this earth and paved the way for us in so many ways. So so much could be said about the courage and the bravery of Fannie and Samuel James, and we don't have time today to go into it, but we do have copies of the book here, and there'll be a book signing afterwards, so we'll save most of the story for your enjoyment at your leisure. But part of what we wanted to highlight today is why this mural depicting the first homestead and post office in what was to become Lake Worth, why this mural is here, why this site right here is important. That is because when Fannie and Samuel James first arrived, he was a carpenter, and there was a small community of settlers in what became Palm Beach, and he came down looking for work in 1884. And he met a neighbor down the way here that lived in what was to become Lantana, who invited him to this empty stretch of shoreline to come and set up a homestead, and they could get land under the Federal Homestead Act. And so he brought his wife down here, and they got 187 acres of waterfront property. Now the thing that was amazing, and they were very smart business people, most of the homesteads were square, and they went inland. But he didn't do that. He took the stretch all along the waterway. So their original homestead went to what is now Lake Worth Bridge or Lake Avenue, all the way to 12th Avenue South, a full mile of shoreline. And the property didn't go very far west, about between Federal and M Street was where their property ended going west. So they maximized the value of the land by getting waterfront. And then in setting a precedent for Florida developers to come, they start selling off the land to Palm Beachers on spec. They made a lot of money. But we learned from the records of what they sold that the county still has, that they kept a certain parcel for themselves, that they did not sell off. And that's this section right in here. From this wall, 158 feet that way, and back to the end of the property line was their homestead. So we know with certainty that their homestead was right in this area. As far as, as far as distance from the water, we really don't know exactly where the homestead was. About half of this park is filled, and the seawall was put in. So the original shoreline was back in here someplace. And so if you notice in the graphs, we have marked off with yellow tape our best guesstimate of where the house could have been. It might surprise you to see how small it is. It was 14 by 25 feet. And when Fannie opened the post office, there were 13 people that were using that post office, and mail delivery was by boat because there were no roads or anything for mail to come in any other way. And most likely she kept the post office in a shoebox under her bed. So you know, that was a small house, and you know that's what she did, and she served a small community of farmers who were growing vegetables and pineapples and coconuts and tropical fruit and such up and down here in small farms. So that's why we're here today. That's why the mural's here today. And I could talk for a couple hours, but I just wanted to kind of set that context. And as we said, we will have the book signing after the program. But I'd like to introduce next a key player who was involved before the beginning in this particular project. She currently was just recently elected mayor, Mayor Betty Resch, and she was the chair of the Lake Worth Centennial Committee when Lake Worth celebrated 100 years of its incorporation in 2013. And so in early 2012, she gathered together a group of us, and we divided up into committees, and I got on the historical committee. And then as we started into the research, you know how things happen, people peel away. And after a while, I was the last one standing, so I was the historical committee. And we did get the book out in time for the centennial celebration. So Betty Resch is very active in the community and wears many, many hats. She also is a lawyer downtown with a family law practice. And we congratulate her on Garen Mural there as well. So Betty, please.
It is such a joy. First of all, I want to once again thank everyone for the support that we've gotten from our citizens. This is an amazing city that we live in. And as I sit here, I want to introduce, we have Commissioner Kim Stokes is here. We have Herman Robinson here. We have Sarah Maliki here. Here, so we have the full complement. It's not an easy job, but we're doing the best we can, and we love it. This community, the founding of this community, the fact that it was founded by Fanny and Sam, started this town on a path which hopefully will continue to embrace diversity, to embrace every citizen that we have, every resident that we have. And I want to thank Tracy. That mural is, where's Tracy?
Tracy!
Thank you so much. I mean, what talented people we have in this city. What talented people we have in this city. If you want something done, there's somebody in this town that can do that. So I don't want to take up too much time, but I just want to again thank everyone for being this wonderful city that we live in and for allowing us to be a part of it. Thank you so much. I'm going to introduce Scott McCabe, former first reporter and now historian.
It's good to see so many faces, new and old. I just want to remind people that today was not supposed to happen. There were people who did not want the story of Fanny and Samuel James told, and tried to whitewash their story. And I'll tell it real quickly, as quickly as possible. So when Lake Worth formed on Fanny and Samuel's property, the first thing they did was ban all black people from town. So Fanny, who was a widow at the time, had to leave her property here and live on the outside of town, which she did. She was in her 70s, which she did for a couple of years until her death. She was killed under unusual circumstances. She was killed by a Model T here on Dixie Highway. There was an arrest and investigation, but they determined that the death was accidental. Now, that was 1915. That same year was the rise of the Ku Klux Klan. And Ku Klux Klan was happening everywhere, but it was happening here in Lake Worth especially. Lake Worth advertised that it was the only all-white town in Florida. And it was a selling point during the boom. And The Lake Worth Lodge was very successful. It was named after the sheriff of Palm Beach County, who was the one who investigated Fanny's death. They had a two-story lodge here, and they had a kindergarten with 70 children that they taught how to hate. And they had rallies and cross burnings and that kind of junk. They would hold it quite frequently. In fact, they held one of the largest Klan rallies right here at Palm Beach Beach. 10,000 people came to support the Klan at that time. In fact, I have a picture of the Lake Worth judge at the time in his full Klan regalia, surrounded by his white-hooded minions, holding a baby that he just christened and baptized under the Klan banner. These are dark times. Well, around the same time, there was a little white girl, who woke up one night to the sounds of people working in the middle of the night. She looked outside and she saw that there were some men with lanterns and torches and shovels working on the little cemetery that Fanny and Samuel had built for themselves. It was a 10 by 10 foot cemetery that was had a wrought iron fence and it was overgrown with weeds and stuff. But the next morning she looked outside again and the cemetery was gone. And so she asked her dad about it, and her dad said, "Shh, don't tell you." So the girl's name was Dorothy. She did tell someone. She told her little girlfriend, Jean Childs Addison. Most of y'all might know that she was the first girl born in Lake Worth. And the two of them, along with those who knew about it, kept this a secret for 80 years until Jean until she turned 87 years old. And that's when she decided she was going to tell the story about the destruction of the Fanny and Samuel Cemetery. And so I was a reporter at Palm Beach Post. Someone contacted me. I went and she told me the story. You know, I had to confirm it, so it took me a while, but I was able to get someone down to the courthouse to show me the original plat for Lake Worth. And sure enough, just as she had said, there was a little 10 foot by 10 foot plot, exactly in the place where she described of the site. So we almost didn't have this day here today. Luckily that Jean Childs Addison came forward and told us the story. And I did a series of stories and just scratching the surface of what Ted has done. And so I've been thinking about Fanny almost every day for the last 20 years. And so I'm amazed just about what the city has done. And Ted's book and everything. So I've also been doing genealogy on, just real quickly say something. So it's part of the whitewashing of Black history. So Fanny didn't have any heirs, but she had, she didn't have any children, but she had some heirs. And the grand nieces and the grandsons of those, of her heirs, went on to, one became a Tuskegee Airman. He was the last pilot to fly over Nazi Germany for Tuskegee Airmen. And another one, a grandniece and her daughter, they desegregated DC schools. And their case is one of 5 cases that were wrapped up in the Supreme Court case that was, we know now as Brown versus Board of Education, but that was one of those cases. So their family did so much. And one of the people I got to meet through the genealogy is here today with us, a woman named April Patton. She is, I don't know how many grandnieces of third grandniece, not that long ago. So let me introduce y'all to April Patton. She came down here from Georgia.
Good afternoon. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. First, let me thank the Historical Society of Lake Worth, Mayor Beth Bresch, Ted Bronstein, Scott McKay, and the great city of Lake Worth for honoring my great aunt, Fanny, with this beautiful mural. To be here to celebrate with you and remembering her and my Uncle Samuel in a way that teaches the next generation their roots and history. I started researching my family roots a couple of years ago with my mother Elaine and discovered that my family had roots here in Lake Worth. In knowing the history of Jewell and how my Aunt Fanny and Uncle Samuel were founding pioneers that cultivated the land to establishing the first U.S. Postal Service here amazes me beyond measure, and I am extremely proud of my heritage. And for the next generations to come, to see this through this mural, where this great city started and has grown as a community in the city of Lake Worth. Thank you for honoring my Aunt Fanny. Thank you, Lake Worth, for being such a group.
So excited when Scott put the genealogies together on Ancestry and found that the Fanny's genealogy and April's genealogy matched, and we actually had surviving relatives who we could meet. This is her second trip down here. She's so excited. Really excited. Of accepting diversity still in the air today. And that's one of the reasons why I'm continuing to take a stand to be brothers and sisters, to be community, and not let the voices of division sidetrack us from our determination to live together and enjoy one another, enjoy the differences, enjoy our cultures, and enjoy our music and our food and all those things. And one of the important parts of the story of Fanny and Samuel is that they came south during Reconstruction. They were in Tallahassee, and then once the federal troops withdrew from the city, the white supremacists started to take over again, and it became very uncomfortable for them up there. So the suggestion was made by black intellectuals and various periodicals at the time to get out of those areas, to get your own land, be in control of your own destiny. And so Fanny and Samuel came down here where there was nobody else. And you know the story of the post office being named the Jewell, but we actually have the copy of the post office application that she put in. And the first name that she wrote on was La Paz, which in Spanish means peace. So they came to a place of peace to escape the chaos that was going on in northern Florida at that time. And then she crossed that out, and then she named it Deer Park, because this was a famous hunting ground. There were a lot of deer. The Pierces who lived across there, Charles came over here and hunted all the time. We had this biography about him coming over as a 16-year-old and dragging venison back to mom to cook. And also we know the Seminoles came to this land and for hunting purposes too. But then Fanny crossed out Deer Park and put down Jewell. And that was eventually accepted by the U.S. Postal Service as the official name. But I just want to take one more second to have you picture what this was like in 1884, 1885 when they arrived. This was no buildings, swampland, nobody was living within miles of them. One neighbor 6 miles north, another neighbor across the water, another neighbor up at the southern bridge, and one down in Montana. There was nobody around at all, and they planted this little house out here, which you've seen the outline of. I just want to mention one more thing. We might wonder why it was so small. It was 14 by 25 feet. But remember, there was no lumber yard. There was no hardware store. They had to go to Cocoa or someplace up north and ship down all of their supplies and then bring it across the lake. Probably all they had was little rowboats or whatever they had, even to get the supplies for that small house. So just picture the conditions that they put up with the mosquitoes and the heat and so forth and so on. And they stuck it out. They were the hub of this community. A lot of other farmers came and went, but the Jameses were here, and they were really accepted. Race wasn't an issue. If you were willing to work, and be part of the groundbreaking work of building these communities, then you were accepted here at that time. So now I'd like to recognize and invite up Rita Lowe, who we've had the privilege of working with at Martin Luther King events and many other events. Commissioner in the city of Lakewood, and her heart has been in this project. Matter of fact, I had some people went over to Tracy's, and we were seeing this work in progress, and Rita found out about it. She said, "My name's Tracy." So her heart has really been involved in this, and we appreciate her so much. Mural.
I'm just excited. I'm excited to see everybody here, and thank everybody for coming and enjoying with us. And really want to thank Tracy and the Historic Society for the work that was put into the mural. And today, this Jewell mural is dedicated to everybody, all of us. This belongs to all of us here in Lake Worth. And this mural is a tribute to all of us here in Lake Worth because today we are a diverse city. I've always said since I've been here, and I've been in this city 48 years, that we are a salad bowl. We have everything right here. And as it's been stated by the mayor, that anything that you want, we have it here in Lake Worth. And because this mural is going to be for our kids and all our kids, grandkids, everybody, it's going to be very informative. It's going to be educational, and it is very, very inspiring. And I just want to say thank you, and we all should be very proud because this is our mural. All of us here.